Silence is usually treated as absence because most systems only register value when something announces itself. That interpretation persists because attention-trained systems rely on stimulation to confirm that they are still functioning. When nothing responds, nothing escalates, and nothing reassures them, those systems assume failure. Silence does not correct that assumption, because correction would require participation. Instead, silence remains inaccessible because it does not accommodate systems that need to be entertained. What follows from that refusal is exposure. Silence does not calm a system because calm is an emotional outcome rather than a structural condition. What silence does is remove interference, which means whatever continues was already present before anything was muted. If agitation increases, it increases because nothing is compensating for it anymore. If clarity emerges, it emerges because the system was already capable of holding coherence without assistance. Silence does not produce either result. It simply stops intervening. Silence is avoided because it interrupts self-deception without effort. A system that depends on noise to maintain stability experiences silence as pressure, because pressure is what remains when distraction is no longer available. This is often misinterpreted as discomfort caused by silence itself. In reality, the discomfort comes from the absence of buffering. Silence is not hostile. It is indifferent. Many people attempt to control silence because they assume it is something that must be managed in order to be tolerated. That assumption fails because silence does not respond to discipline. A system attempting to regulate silence reveals its own instability by doing so. Silence does not submit to control. It reveals whether control was ever present internally. Silence is often mistaken for withdrawal because both involve reduced output. The difference is structural. Withdrawal disengages from the system, which reduces load by absence. Silence remains fully present, which increases load by removing interference. A withdrawn system avoids contact. A silent system maintains contact without accommodation. That distinction determines whether sensitivity increases or collapses. Under silence, small discrepancies become noticeable because nothing is smoothing them out. Latency becomes apparent because there is no secondary input to disguise delay. Patterns surface because they are no longer diluted. This is why silence feels intolerable to systems that rely on momentum. Momentum masks drift. Silence does not. Silence is often sold as a path to clarity. Because clarity is what people want in exchange for discomfort. That framing fails because silence does not reorganize systems. It exposes their existing organization. If clarity appears, it appears because coherence already existed. If confusion intensifies, it intensifies because confusion was already present and no longer buffered. Silence does not intervene in either direction. Silence carries authority because it refuses to respond on demand. It does not persuade because persuasion would require negotiation. It does not escalate because escalation would require investment. Silence holds position by declining participation. This is often misread as control because many systems confuse authority with dominance. Silence doesn't dominate. It withholds accommodation. Traditional hypnosis scripts depend on predictable response. When response is withheld, the script has nothing to progress against. Silence destabilizes, not by opposition, but by the absence of compliance. The system encountering silence must either regulate itself or escalate without feedback. Only one of those options is sustainable. A regulated system remains intact without constant input. Silence tests this condition directly. If coherence holds, silence passes unnoticed. If agitation increases, it increases because regulation was externalized. Silence does not cause instability. It stops compensating for it. Silence circulates poorly because it does not generate momentum. Attention accommodates reward movement because movement creates visibility. Silence withholds movement. Which means it resists amplification by design. What it offers instead is spacing. Spacing is only useful to systems capable of holding themselves without supervision. For all others, silence feels obstructive. Continuity is often attributed to constant motion because motion creates the appearance of progress. In practice, continuity depends on spacing. Systems that never pause accumulate drift because there is no interval in which position can be assessed. Silence introduces spacing without instruction. Recalibration follows only if the system is capable of registering it itself. Silence is often labeled passive because it does not announce intent. That label confuses an activity with selectivity. Silence is selective engagement. It refuses to respond indiscriminately. A system that responds to everything equally is reactive, and silence restores selectivity by declining unnecessary participation.
Silence fails when it's used as a tactic. Performative silence demands interpretation. Structural silence does not. When silence is deployed to provoke, punish, or manipulate, it becomes loud. Loud silence seeks reaction. Real silence does not. Silence alters time perception because it removes reference points. Without constant markers, experience becomes continuous rather than segmented. This is often described as disorientation. I wouldn't say disorientation. It's not dysfunction. It is exposure to unscaffolded experience. Silence does not distort time. It stops organizing it for you. Any system that intends to stabilize or deepen requires silence at some stage. Not because silence causes change, but because change cannot be assessed while interference remains active. Noise obscures signal. Silence does not add signal. It stops hiding it. Silence
is not suited to every system. Some systems are built for throughput. Others are built for depth. Silence favors depth because depth requires spacing. The others experience silence as resistance because it does not accelerate them. Silence does not resolve anything. It does not conclude. It does not adapt. It remains when nothing else is required. If something here held, it is because it already fit. If something resisted, silence will not correct it. And nothing needs to be done about it.